So, welcome to part 3 of our update journey between season 2 and season 3 of our garden vlog. So, we're probably 2.5 hours in, some give or take, and of course, we could not put it all in one video. Check out this possible polyembryonic white sapote. That's a single seed. Now it has 3 instead of 2 sprouts coming from that single seed. So here was the last big pile of seeds that I planted in one container. And you can see something got the tip and broke it. I don't know if that's a kid, a cat, dog, some kind of cutter worm. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sprouted in it. So we're still waiting for those last 2 GHB avocado pits to sprout. They still look nice and healthy, so I'm assuming they will. Sometimes it just takes months, I guess. Still not one moringa cutting showing signs of life. In fact, some of them are showing like they're getting some kind of fungus or something on them. So I'm guessing probably none of these are going to take. This star fruit or carambola, check this out. There's 1, 2 buds there fixing to leaf out. So after those initial first few weeks or month or so after getting that star fruit out of the ground and kind of breaking off a lot of the roots when we pulled it out, despite our sort of best efforts to do so, we were of the opinion that it was probably going to die until probably part 2 of this update video. So in the last 2-3 weeks or so, we were like, it's looking better. The bark is looking better, more greener. It looks more alive. And now it's pushing some new buds out, which is amazing. So in part 2, you see that we lost almost all of the citrus grafts. There's one hanging on that's still green. And we have a few of the loquats that seem like they're successful. We lost that one that was in the ground. Maybe too much sunlight or something there, and we didn't really cover it with some tinfoil or anything to help make sure it didn't get baked. So I was at another place a couple days ago that I gave some of the cultivars of figs to try, to see how they were or whatever. I think I gave them 3, 4, 5 cultivars, including Italian everbearing. And before that, they did not have a puppy. Then they got a puppy afterward, and it decided to chew a lot of things. So it broke a long branch of this Italian everbearing. So I said, just cut that branch off. I'll bring it, to my place, and I'll try to root it, doing that wrap like you do the scion wood. And hopefully this will be a backup, and we can just container grow it if it does well. I've probably talked about it several times during the latter part of 2024, and that was keeping mother plants and backups, anything that we can easily root or propagate, having figs or whatever just grow out in containers for a little while, and taking cuttings and rooting cuttings and having those backups before we put any more in the ground. So it is 2 days after Christmas, December 27th. What do you hear? Pretty much nothing. No kids at the park. A few birds here and there. No kids playing on their new bicycles or skateboards. Hollering, frolicking, whatever. Welcome to the age of most kids getting cell phones or video games, tablets, and living a very lethargic life. I was at the cell phone place last night getting Natalie a new screen protector for her phone. And guess what? The place was packed. People getting screen protectors for their new phones they just got for Christmas, most likely. Every single person almost there was getting something for their phone they just got for Christmas. So that's life in 2024. What's strange to me is that, you know, when it's not Christmas, it's louder here. You know, no one's in school, so it's not like kids are, you know, attending school right now. They're on Christmas vacation until after the New Year's. But it is what it is. I guess the times have changed and people have, for the most part, changed as well. You know, technology and all that stuff. But let's go back to figs and all. You know, talking what I just talked about a few minutes ago. Doing figs in containers, you know, it also gives us an opportunity, I guess, to try the quality of fig fruit and stuff out to see if we like it, see if it's different. And you know, by putting them in containers, and we can have a lot more different cultivars, I should say, that we can put right next to each other, versus if you're planting them out and, you know, you might need 8 or 10 foot of space between them or so. You put your 1 gallon pots, you know, right next to each other, 3 gallon pots right next to each other, you know, and those are temporary habitats, I guess you'd say, for them. And it allows you to do way more, you know, trialing in lesser space. So you kind of kill 2 birds in 1 stone. You know, you have your backups, and if you don't like the quality of fruit, you're not going to plant it out in your prime planting locations. And I know in previous garden vlogs, I don't know how much I've talked about it, but I did talk about it a little bit, you know, about most of our prime planting locations are gone, you know, but sort of like the mycorrhizal raised beds and post mycorrhizal beds, that sort of gives me an opportunity to plant in areas where maybe the trees and stuff wouldn't normally grow, maybe in the wetter zones and stuff. Also, that wasn't accounting for, you know, where we thought we might have to put, you know, have vehicles drive through certain areas in the back and stuff. So we need to reevaluate and say, okay, let's just open up the idea that we can use some of these spaces, some of these extra areas, as long as we can get, you know, foot traffic, lawnmowers and stuff in them. So that's gonna, you know, when we figure out which areas we can use, we'll definitely have much more planting areas. Again, using those raised beds, mycorrhizal raised beds and stuff like that, aged wood chip beds. We should be able to do a lot more figs and probably some more avocados as well. So this area here in the back area where we have our raised beds and stuff, or coming to the raised beds, I had always kept this area clear because I figured I'd be dumping more potting soil and stuff in these beds. And I think that's probably not going to happen. We'll still put sticks and stuff in here, and we may actually just take this raised bed and take it off and just make it like a raised mycorrhizal aged wood chip alternative bed. We could probably reuse this stuff and even cut the actual tin in half and do like asparagus beds if we wanted to do something like that somewhere else. So we could get, instead of a 40-foot bed, we could have 80 foot of bed right here. This Celeste fig here, we actually are giving this away in the spring. Somebody's claimed it, so part of giving back to the community. This was bought as a Black Mission fig. It turned out it wasn't a Black Mission, so we could have either just kept it here or maybe grafted on it, but you know, we don't need it. Somebody else can use this. Here in the wettest part where we have the avocado we're experimenting with and the Dunkin' grapefruit, and we have some mayholes and cocktail grapefruits and a few like pawpaws and stuff there. Even the Japanese raisin tree. So this gives us, you know, definitely a lot of places to get avocado experiments done and stuff like that. Now, I have planted mulberries and figs pretty much directly in this ground, and they died, so we have to do some kind of mycorrhizal raised bed here if we want to do them, if we want to be successful, I should say. So right here, you know, probably not even 50 foot from that wettest area with the avocado planet there is an area where a wax myrtle used to live, you know, for like 30 or 40 years before it rotted and died. And it's got kind of a raised area here. Armadillos have been living there off and on for years. So it's already kind of started. We just need to cut down some of these camphor trees and stuff that are just invasive anyway. Use a lot of the materials to kind of help build the bed up a little bit more. Get some more leaves and some, maybe a little bit of compost soil, and you know, hit it with some stink water and stuff just to get the process of breaking down a lot of this stuff going. And I think that'd be a perfect spot for another avocado, especially if these guys survive this winter. So let's just see if they survive the winter and the summer. Maybe that'll be a perfect place for another grafted avocado, or maybe a seedling avocado. Maybe we'll do a multi-graft on it later if it survives. So let's just recap what we're most excited for as far as planting new things, trying new things. I think the top 3 would be creating some more banana circles, trying more banana cultivars, more avocado seedlings, grafting, doing our own grafts, yada yada, and you know, more fig cultivars. So let's just add another one. We're working on, you know, getting loquat cultivars as well, but I really don't know where we're going to plant a bunch. So multi-grafting a couple trees versus putting out 10 or 12 or 15 trees in the ground will probably be the best bet for those. And you might be saying, well, what about pawpaws? Isn't pawpaws your longest running experiment? Well, pretty much every year we've been getting new scion wood, you know, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 cultivars, and trying to graft them. And you know, it's something that sort of fizzles out because of the lack of success, and then it may be reinvigorated by something like, you know, earlier this year, 2024, because it's not 2025 yet, although you guys probably won't see this until 2025. Earlier this year, someone offered me, or a couple people offered me, some cuttings and stuff from a few cultivars that got me excited. You know, one of them is like in downtown Gainesville somewhere. His are probably just seedlings that he had successes or luck with, and he says they're great, and so he's producing fruit like crazy, I guess. So that'll be nice to introduce. Hopefully, you know, maybe 3rd or 4th week of January I can get them to do some cuttings and then put them in the refrigerator until we get, you know, leaf buds coming out, and we can try to graft them. And then somebody else has like two or 3 other cultivars, so I'm going to trade, you know, hopefully some cultivars of mine, like Sunflower NC1, you know, the little avocado one, and maybe the Tallahassee seedling I got for his 2 or 3 cultivars. The persimmon projects, you know, because I got 100 seeds that got in the refrigerator right now. We're cold stratifying them. That's going to be more of a long-term project to try to get these big enough, and then get American persimmon, scion wood, and maybe some of the more rare Asian persimmons, scion wood, and try to graft them. Now, they're hard to graft. Even experienced grafters sometimes only have like 60% success, and you know, I'm not experienced, but hopefully doing this wrapping technique that I kind of learned over the last year, you know, especially with the loquats, hopefully learning that will give me a little bit better potential for success, you know, including, you know, doing that with mulberries, because I've had 0 success with mulberries, 0 success with persimmons. I sort of also said in the 2024 garden vlog that, you know, season 3 of the garden vlog is probably going to be a lot about building post-mycorrhizal beds like these pineapple guava, you know, ones we're working on now. Hopefully most of them will be a lot smaller beds that are easier, you know, like 1, 2, 3 day jobs, versus, you know, could be weeks or months to finish this guy here out. So we need beds for those 2 pear trees. And if we have successes, then hopefully we're good to go. We may use some of our own pear stock to graft later to places where pears died, but the rootstock is still alive. I think I got 2, maybe 3, I can't remember, at least 2 rootstocks that are still alive that I can graft onto, and that you can also multi-graft, So I looked at scion wood and cuttings and stuff on Fruitwood Nursery, what they released. A lot of things, or should I say, a few things that I really wanted came and went already. And you can't combine orders from this place. So if you see one thing you want, you might end up having to spend $30 shipping on it, then making another order when another item comes up and another order. So I just can't afford that. And they really don't have, at least right now at the end of December, enough materials for me to justify making an order. I would just be buying a lot of things probably that I didn't want as bad, just to get 1 or 2 good things that I did want really badly. It's possible after they start the shipping season on January, the 3rd week or so of January or later, that they'll see they have excess stock or something, and they may update their stock list and we can see for maybe a February order. But other than that, we may not order anything this year, or we may have to go to an alternative nursery or supplier, Etsy or something, to get some of those loquat scion woods, because the shipping oftentimes is much cheaper just for scion wood versus going to a nursery here and paying $30 or $40 to ship, $40 worth of scion wood. So we want to get some more lemon and strawberry cattleya guavas, whether it's us producing them with seeds once we figure it out. Supposedly you can boil the seeds and that will sort of scarify them, the seeds, and make it so that they'll sprout easier. And just finding places to plant whatever we need to plant, all of our little, maybe an Okinawa spinach and stuff like that. We already have longevity spinach in the ground in a few places. It doesn't always do well with the cold and stuff, so we always need to keep that mother plant in a single pot, just to ensure that we're going to have, material to keep it going. Other than that, season 3 is going to be full of manual labor, and I hope my poor body can just handle it and get through it, and hopefully it'll pay off in the end. All that digging and dragging and pulling and raking and all that good stuff. And I'm also probably going to be looking into greenhouse options, and that doesn't mean we're committed to anything. I'm just going to kind of have that on my radar, look and see what options we have, and look and see the finances and all that stuff. Because, doing what I did this year, mostly for the community, to give back to the community, just is way too much time. It takes way too much space in the house to protect everything from the winter. The constant bringing stuff in the house and out of the house, and the dirt and everything we have to sweep and mop every time we, take the plants back outside, because it's so messy doing that. It's just a little bit too much to deal with. Our comfrey that has looked bad for so long is finally starting to fill out again. I guess it just does not like our summers here at all. Back to this area in our wettest part of the yard, where the wax myrtle tree used to survive, and there's a little hill there, and we talked maybe about putting avocados here or something. Let's go ahead and just throw some stuff over there as we get time for just walking around here and start building up a bed. And it doesn't have to be in 2 days. It could be just 2 months, 2 weeks, 6 months, whatever. Just throw some stuff over there when we just have extra time to grab a few sticks and twigs and maybe a little bit of leaves later on, and just build it up. We have to eventually get the chainsaws out here anyway, because we got a few sweet gums and stuff that are getting a little bit too big and a little bit too close to structures and stuff anyway, and we need to get some of these camphors cut down as well. So it looks like we're in for another few rounds of frost and freezes, possibly with our coldest day so far this winter at 27 degrees. So we got a day basically in the 10-day forecast, which is as long as we can check out, as 30, 31, 34, 29, 27, 36, and like 39 degrees. And we're still at the end of December here, which, you know, we'll be into January when we hit those 20s. But we're also in a tornado watch today, and it is December 29th. I sort of figured we'd be putting our plants, you know, back in the house at least once, but, you know, I was kind of hoping that, you know, it wouldn't be so soon. And because of when these frosts and freezes are occurring, we still have room for more freezes later on. You know, at the end of that 10-day forecast, it's supposed to be 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's after that? It could be you know, a bunch of cold weather. So it is Sunday today. You might have heard gunshots out there because people have been shooting guns for days and days around here. Hunters are just practice, you know, whenever they're doing target shots or something. And by Wednesday, we got to start preparing for this cold weather again. We had just put that jackfruit in the ground, you know, a few months ago. Trained now. We had just put that mountain soursop in the ground. Of course, we got an extra avocado in that way back area, and that other avocado in what we call in Toxicity Island. So we just gotta wait and see what happens. Gotta start preparing, you know, getting everything nice and watered if we're not getting rain. Pretty much getting some kind of rain every day now. And we kind of wonder what those papayas, how they're going to take another round of frost and freezes. They obviously got some damage, but from the last round, but it's hard to tell how much. You know, sometimes you don't see it for a long time, and you just see that thing just getting browner at the top, and it goes down and down and down closer to the soil level until it stops and then reshoots from some new buds out the top of it. But yeah, that's not going to happen now, because I guarantee you there's going to be more top growth dying with this round of frost and freezes. Well, today is the next day, and just about as fast as I got done filming yesterday, within 5 minutes the skies turned dark, and then I walked in the house. Within about 10 or 15 minutes, I seen a gust of wind that just like whipped these big old trees back there just really hard. And for like 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, we got this like train sounding, like whizzing and, you know, buzzing and you know, like that or something. It scared the crap out of everybody, and then it was gone. But we had some really strong few gusts that just knocked a lot of things down. A lot of plants fell off the rails, and had like a wind chime and stuff just fly out, and chairs. It almost seems like that probably was a tornado, maybe a little bit away from here, maybe a few thousand feet away or something, that might have just whizzed through here real fast. But luckily it didn't hurt anything, I don't think. I'll have to look in the back later to see if any trees went down. So let's do something a little bit more experimental and fun. Now I plan to potentially experiment with grafting chestnuts onto a variety of oak trees, and I don't even know which variety. I know that there's some people that have grafted on red oaks and a couple other oaks as well, but we are probably more in the wetlands oaks, you know, swamp oaks and stuff like that. Again, you know, I'm not an oak tree expert, but let's do an early winter graft versus doing dormant scion wood on bud breaking or bark slipping rootstock. We're not going to do too many, maybe 2 or so, and then when, you know, another month or so, take some scion wood from these chestnuts and put them in the refrigerator until we get some bud breaking, and then try that way as well. Hopefully. We got a small piece here from a seedling, so the diameter isn't that big. I would prefer it to be a little bit bigger, but this is what we got. I don't know if this is Chinese or a hybrid Dunstan or now we have to actually find an oak tree somewhere where we don't mind it being permanently if this guy takes. And a good reason to potentially put chestnut on oak, if you're successful, is that they can take different pH levels in the ground and stuff, and different calcium levels and all kinds of stuff. But hopefully, even they can take, hopefully, wet areas. You know, we're doing post-mycorrhizal beds and stuff to try to eliminate that need. But what if you can just graft onto an oak tree, and you know, it may not succeed. We have little oak seedlings all over the place. We just want to make sure that it's not going to be in a way where if it grows, it's going to be covering up our citrus and mayhaws and, you know, all that other stuff, pawpaws. Here's a nice one here that we could probably go pretty low. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though, because deer and stuff come back here and they might just trample it down if it's too low. I messed up on a few cuts, and I went where it would line up only on one side of the cleft graft, and I finally got one I think that's pretty close. All right, so we wrapped the scion wood, and normally I'd probably cut it off at about 3 buds above, but this is so small at the top that I probably wouldn't even attempt to graft it, you know, unless it's the only thing I had. I still didn't get the cambium layers matched up on both sides. One side was just not going to match up no matter how I positioned the scion wood, but this side here I think matched up. Another little graft here that I'm kind of less confident in. Now that first one, the scion wood seemed to be way too soft. This one was harder, and I thought it was going to be, you know, the wood was harder, so I thought it was going to be a little bit easier. And as I shaved it off, I still shaved too much off, so minimum cambium layer contact. I'm actually using a real grafting knife with a T-bud thing there, but I'm not doing bud grafts or anything like that, but the only one size is pretty big blade, so maybe I should go back to a razor for these smaller ones. It is now December 31st, and I'm going to show you what I think is that white sapote there coming underneath the husk, the shell, whatever, and sprouting. This guy here hasn't pushed it out yet, but you can see the kind of leaves and stuff just folded, you know, and just waiting to push it. We're only waiting for those last 2 or 3, and if anything extra pops up in this miscellaneous one here, that's just extra. I'm assuming there are probably a few more seeds in there that. So apparently there is an Arctic blast coming through in January, and it's going to make it the coldest winter in Florida since 1997. They're predicting, I guess, somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees Fahrenheit to hit somewhere around that January 12th mark. And possible snow, like 12% snow here. Or I should say 12% chance of snow. Those temperatures could probably be pretty devastating, especially like for the newly planted avocados and citrus trees. But I'm even thinking that jackfruit and that mountain soursop that I planted in the ground. So if these temperatures come to fruition, you know, they may be just toast. But tonight, I think it's only supposed to be 47, 49 degrees, something like that. I'm only getting a few of the most tender things in. And then tomorrow night, it's going to be 39. And the temperatures are probably going to go up and down, you know, from 27 to 44 or something like that. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun having to get pretty much all of the potted plants back inside again when this really bad weather comes. So I've just took out all the sticks from the moringa cuttings from 3 pots and looked and seen what had a possibility of still being alive. There was only a few sticks, so I just stuck them all in a small 1-gallon pot like this and brought them inside. That way I don't have to bring this heavy thing in, and I don't have to bring 3 pots in. Most likely I'm saying 0% success, but hey, who knows? And I've already said this before, possibly in part 2 of our updates, that I did not know that these in-between updates between Garden Vlog Season 2 and Garden Vlog Season 3 would be mostly about bringing plants in and out for the winter and how cold it is or it's going to get. And I'm definitely feeling the stress of having to move everything back in again soon. You know, I would not have done the propagation and on this massive a scale, you know, to try to get stuff for the community, the garden community around here, had I known it was going to be this bad and without a greenhouse or something to protect everything with. I even wonder if the lemon and strawberry Cattleya guavas are going to survive, and the cold hardy pineapple, you know, that we have planted out there, which took a lot of damage in that 31 degree couple freezes we had already. I'm still looking on Etsy. I'm still looking at, you know, online nurseries, and I was tempted this morning almost to go to a greenhouse nursery or something to see what they had. But what would happen if I would have bought another avocado or 2 and instant death, or being afraid of putting it in the ground for 2 or 3 years and having to bring it in constantly every winter. About getting seeds and stuff from Etsy, but I said, well, what if they freeze if they're subtropical? I thought about getting some fruits like black sapote or chocolate persimmon fruits that, you know, people were selling from South Florida. And I said, well, what if they freeze, you know, between buying them and them delivering them, you know, and shipment, and being not good fruit and unviable seeds and stuff, you know, because a big draw to ordering fruits and stuff like that, because you pay a lot of money per pound, is getting those seeds and propagating them and stuff. And, you know, what if we got these freezes and all of our avocados and a lot of our citrus and our subtropicals just died, you know? Would I be so disheartened that I wouldn't really want to spend the money and the time and effort doing it all over again? Now, I have a lot of seedling avocados and stuff that I would still probably plant in the ground, but it would be for fun. I don't know if I would go out and spend $400, $500, $600, or $1,000 again on all these things, and just knowing that in a single winter you can't predict it. You're not promised to have a hardened off shrub or tree, you know, in 1 or 2 winters before you get one so bad that it just decimates. 18 degrees is probably the limit, or pushing the limit, of a lot of those Mexican avocados, and it's probably pushing the limits of those Cattleya guavas. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I kind of wonder how this cold weather would affect maybe the blooming habits of pawpaws and stuff like that. And, you know, pawpaws usually form their buds before the winter that they're in, you know, is over. So I'm assuming you would have to have a really harsh winter, maybe in the south, and some cultivars, I should say, to let that tree know that it got its number of chill hours it needed, I guess. And then the following winter, it, swells those buds up and eventually flowers. Those flower buds will usually open up before the leaf buds actually open up and shoot new leaves out. I personally do not know if the current winter a pawpaw is in has any effect on its flowering or fruiting. The good news is that I have a well-matured mango cultivar pawpaw tree that very rarely has flower buds, 1 or 2 flowers every year or two. And nothing is going to add more flower buds this year because we had a super mild winter last year. But if we get a harsh winter this year, that means season 4 of the garden vlog, we should be able to tell if that harsher winter actually made more flower buds or if it didn't have an effect at all. It is now January 2nd, and I have a pretty nice gout flare up in my foot. Hard to kind of walk around and stuff, and we got a frost coming tonight, so probably around 34 degrees, so we definitely need to get that Barbados cherry in, and probably most of our small plants and seedlings, jaboticabas and stuff. I'm going to keep the 2 sacrificial ones out unless we get like a 26, 25 degree prediction. Then I'll probably bring them. Because of my gout flare up, I probably can't do like maximized winter protection, going out and raking 2 or 3 30-gallon trash barrels full of leaves to like cover everything. But we're going to try a little bit of something and see what happens. I actually was burning cardboard again and wood, doing a wood ash thing yesterday, and I could kind of barely manage the fire. But now that it's done, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But basically, potash ashes have potassium and magnesium in them, and I guess the salts and the magnesium will help the ground prevent it from freezing, so it can sometimes help plants at least keep them from freezing, at least on ground level. So if it's a non-grafted plant, it may save it once it gets in those freeze ranges, 35, 28, whatever. But it's still possible that some of our plants will just be toast this year. On the underside of this Okinawa spinach, especially when the sun's shining on it, look how pretty and purple that is. I just got done putting wood ash, cardboard ash on our 3 avocados in the ground in the front yard. All the Cattleya, lemon guavas, cherry of Rio Grande, pineapples, and all the citrus, the young citrus in our front areas. And the banana, the little, whatever that is, dwarf Namwa banana. I'm going to try to film doing some of that at least. But people, they look out their windows, open their blinds, look out their doors, and they stare and they wonder what you're doing when you're like digging ash, putting it in a bucket, putting them on plants, and raking leaves and piling it on. I thought it'd be a little bit weird to video that, which is, I'm introverted. I'm not super extroverted or anything like that. So there's something about people, especially my new neighbor and all, that really likes to stare and just hide around a corner and watch. That guy probably thinks I'm like growing marijuana or something, because I'm always going way in the back in the woods and stuff. And this guy's trying to put bids on our property, even though it's not for sale, and keeps making offers. He really wants that property, so I'm not sure what's going to happen, if this guy's a troublemaker or what. Or the guy may just think I'm nuts because I'm always picking up limbs and stuff, and I'm building frames with these limbs, and maybe he's intrigued, or maybe he's just thinking, like I said, like I'm loco or something. You know, permaculture, some people have the wrong idea because they see people doing things differently than they do, you know, when they're doing their gardening and their raised beds and stuff like that. It would be so much cooler, so much better if all my neighbors were into like permaculture. Now the neighbor to the back of me, he's a truck driver full time, but I have a feeling if he was home all the time, you know, we'd be like permaculture neighbors, you know. He practices a lot of it when he's home, but you know, he just comes home and he works his butt off for 2 or 3 days, I think every other week. And you know, there's maybe some amazing stuff we could do if we get 2 people or more, 2 adults working to create like a permaculture garden. But you know, that's fine, but some other people, most other people don't get it. Hard to see, but right there, see where that little bit of coffee is pushed up there, those coffee grounds. Let's see if we can get an angle there. That is actually a sprout from the last 2 GHB, so avocados. So we got 1 more left to sprout, I think, and then 100% take. Well, I've been working for a while, a couple hours, just slowly doing stuff here and there, trying to get things in and ready for the cold weather. But you can't really argue with the 100% take rate, you know, on our sprout rate on the avocados or anything. The only thing that would be better would be more polyembryonic or potentially polyembryonic seedlings that sprout. What, you know, how almost impossible would it be to have 100% polyembryonic avocado seedlings? And that would be pretty rare. Imagine planting 10, 20, or 100 and having every one of them have that potential to be polyembryonic. But I guess it's just random. And you know, with the Mexican avocados versus like Guatemalan and West Indies and stuff types, you know, what you know you may or may not get fruit from at all. It might be 15 years, it might be bad quality fruit. You know, the guy in Gainesville that has been growing seedlings for years, and the Mexicans and possibly Mexican hybrids has said, you know, over and over again that you usually get something very similar to the mother tree, you know, from the Mexican types. So I guess it's possible that a lot of them just are more frequently polyembryonic or very close or the same as the parent tree, basically a clone of the mother tree, unless you maybe intentionally pollinate it with another type and block the pollen maybe from the same tree, you know, because there is a transition period between male and female flower, or female and male flower, or pollen can, you know, the same tree can pollinate, you know, one flower to another in a short window, but it happens. This is why you get fruit even if you have one tree and no other tree around you, but you get much more when you have 2 of the that are different types, type A and type B, where, you know, at one time there's all male flowers, at one time all female flowers, and that is reversed between the type A and B's. So type A will pollinate at one time to type B. Type B male flowers will pollinate type A female flowers at a different time. But I think that also goes back to, you know, pruning them hard, you know, in that very early stage to create bushes versus giant trees, giant sticks, you know, creating that multiple trunks so that you can save at least one trunk or one big limb close to the ground for seeing how that individual fruit is going to be, and then having grafting on the other limbs. That way you know you're going to get a good fruit and early on every limb except the one that you leave to see if it is a new and better variety or if it matches are as close to that mother avocado fruit. That is something I talked about probably once or twice or 3 times on the garden blog, and including on this update here. I don't know if it's part 2 or part 3 that we're working on right now. That, you know, they do that with the loquats, you know, to make them like stay at around 15 feet versus going to 35 or whatever over a long period of time, you know, so that you can plant it under a electric line or whatever sometimes. Guess what happens if you let a really tall avocado tree just grow up like that, really tall in the sky? You can't easily access those avocado fruits. You got to get on a 20+ foot ladder, and you're still straining to try to grab those fruits or whatever. It's not feasible to have a avocado tree that is 30, 40, 45 foot tall and actually get all the fruits from that tree. It is January 5th, and our weather forecasters have been bouncing back and forth between a freeze watch and a freeze warning. The official forecast says it's going to be 33 tonight, but the actual freeze warning says possibly 31 for like 9 hours, between like 11 and 9. Well, that'd be 10 hours, right? 10-hour freeze warning or watch, something like that. And now that 27-degree forecast in a day or two, I think on Tuesday morning probably, is now saying 26. So I've been raking up a little bit of leaves to like just put on the bottom of a few avocados and citrus trees and a few things like that. You know, now that my gout is easing up just a little bit for the day, and it may go bad again, but we're doing what we can. So one of the things that has been keeping me occupied a little bit as I've gone through this gout and all this cold weather is Etrian Odyssey Origins for the Switch. This is a Korean release. They released it in 3 or 4 countries and more, but I think only 2 of them are multi-language. So it's a dungeon RPG or dungeon crawler, and I was introduced to the first game on the DS. It was highly regarded from one of my friends that was into gaming, and I briefly tried it out, and I should have just bought it and probably bought the whole collection. I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Natalie is very like anti-gaming, and yeah, at least, you know, since I've been down with this gout a lot, I have an excuse just to sit versus actually going out and doing a ton of physical activity. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time, and I actually get to play games every once in a while. Every 6 or 8 months or so I'll get into gaming, and sometimes it's just a week or 2, and then, you know, Natalie gets so upset that I just stop playing for a while. But this has been cool, and I'm hoping to get Tokyo Clan Pool, which was just released in Asia, so hopefully that'll be a pretty fun game as well. I haven't tried part 2 or 3 of Etrian Origins, which is on this yet, because I've been spending so much time on part 1. So it is December 6th now. We had a freeze watch or warning last night. I knew there was frost on the roofs, but I don't know if it actually got to a freeze point here. I'm just looking. I forgot which cultivar, the Mayhalls I had. And we got Red Champ here, and the other one is Double GG. The reason I was looking at those is I'm considering doing a Scion Wood, Bud Wood, or whatever order, last minute sort of. And even though I don't like the idea of spraying, you know, for cedar apple rust and all that stuff that hawthorns get, I need to expand my experience and knowledge with grafting and stuff like that. including on hawthorns, not just loquats, pawpaws, and persimmons. Mayhaws are probably all true hawthorns are compatible, I guess, with medlars, hawthorns, Chinese hawthorns, probably black haws, probably just compatible with every true hawthorn type. Although medlars are not hawthorns, they're just compatible. They're often put on like English hawthorn rootstock. Thought about doing pineapple guavas as well. But, you know, I'm just, you know, there's a difference between, I knew that mayhaws make some really good jelly, you know, and they have a usefulness, you know, you can preserve them and stuff. I'm sure you could probably make preserves or jelly out of pineapple guavas as well, which, you know, if you add lemon juice and sugar and stuff to almost anything, it's going to taste good or better. But, you know, we're just unconvinced so far that pineapple guavas are worth doing, you know, and maybe having, you know, all of these cultivars producing fruit will actually give us a better idea, you know, versus the 2 seedlings that we've harvested fruit from over the last few years. We've got the 3 New Zealand varieties that we planted last year. And, you know, we have other seedlings that we got from different nurseries and stuff. These first 2 came from a nursery in California, Oregon, something like that, that had improved cultivars, and these were probably seedlings of improved cultivars. And I don't know what the local nurseries have, if it's just random seedlings or what. But like I said, we got 3 grafted New Zealand varieties to check out. If one or multiple of these seedlings or grafted ones convince us to put a little bit more effort into growing and getting more genetics, then yeah, we'll be more willing to go get more of those, like, or some of those Mark Albert ones that people rave about, and maybe more of the New Zealand varieties as well. And yeah, we definitely need to learn to graft everything, see what time of year, you know, the difficulty level, what type of grafts take the best. Just as I predicted, we got 100% sprout rate. Look at that little tiny sprout right there. That's the last of the GHB avocados, and every single one of them has sprouted. So check that out. There is a stem or a sprout pushing through and pushing up that soil. That's another white sapote from a little 1-gallon pot. So we got one more 1-gallon pot with the white sapote seed that has not sprouted yet in this mixed container here where we just dumped a bunch of seeds. Some of them had some buoyancy to them, so they may not be 100% viable, but there's 7 so far. And that one there got broken by something, a cat or dog or kid or something, but it's pushing a new little bud out the side there, so it should be fine. These are the original 6 here, as you can see. And I got sun glare, so it's hard to see. There's a still green there. That one is trying to push through that husk, but there's one right there with another 2 stems coming out of a single seed. So that could possibly be a polyembryonic seed. Potentially makes 2 possible polyembryonic seedlings, because I only put 1 seed in here, and look at there, there's 3 sprouts so far from that single seed. Now this is exciting. You know those little buds that were forming on the star fruit? They're turning into little stems and leaves there. So by all accounts, this is like a 10-year-old plant. So this is mature times 3, and it's only, you know, less than 2 foot tall, maybe 14, 16, 18 inches. It's a little bent there, so it's hard to tell exactly. So we're still in December 6th, and it's nighttime outside. And I went ahead and placed an order mostly for scion wood and some rootstock. And instead of telling you what I'm getting, because it might be a while before I get it, I'll definitely either do that on an update video, part 3, part 4, or maybe just into unofficial season 3 timeline, because, you know, why talk about it now when we can have it in our hands, you know, in a month and a half, 2 months, however long. I think I asked them to ship it at the end of February. Over the last few weeks or month, I have lost 3 items, you know, that were on my shopping cart. First was the Barnes Sadi or whatever fig, which was on my probably top 10 list from what I gather. A lot of the ones that were on my top like 5 haven't really been available at the nursery, and that I buy stuff from that's affordable. You know, other companies and sellers on Etsy and stuff, they may have a few of the top 5, but they're super expensive a lot of times, and I'm not going to pay that much for them because a lot of them really aren't well known in the Southeast, you know, so they're going to be experimental. And over the last day or two, I lost 2 more items. My cart would just say updated to the quantity available or something, which is 0. So I ended up losing those items, including today, that last one that I had, which was a Dollywood persimmon. And a lot of the types of scion wood that I was looking at, it was pretty much slim pickings, you know, nothing as far as I'm aware that's on my top, you know, 5 or whatever, or even 10 probably. So everything was limited. I didn't want to get the same mainstream stuff that anybody could get in many different nurseries or even local garden centers and stuff. I want to get stuff that the local garden centers don't have. Sorry, there's a cat bothering me. Hey, what are you doing? Scratching me up. Go. He just does not want to leave me. That cat did not want to let me go. Well, it is January 6th, and we got some dark clouds with potential rain expected. Maybe a 1/4 inch, according to some forecasters. We've had some gusts, 15, 20 mile per hour gusts or so, off and on for a couple hours. And a lot of my plants have fallen over in the pots. Tonight we have that freeze warning, 32 degrees predicted. And I think we got 3+, maybe 4, 5, or 6 over the next 10 days that are in that 28 to like 35, 36 degree mornings or nights predicted. So last night around midnight, I said, well, I want to watch this new movie I got in, Deadpool and Wolverine 3D. Now, you have to get this in Japan, at least for now. Most likely this isn't coming to North America unless it's on a streaming service like Vudu, Fandango or something, or maybe that Apple headset or whatever. And my oldest son got up at like 11:30 and said, I want to watch it too. Can you charge some glasses for me to watch this? I said, no way, your mama would kill me if I let you watch Deadpool, any of the 3 Deadpools. And, you know, I hadn't watched it, but I knew based on the other 2 that, you know, even though this is now Disney versus Fox, it was going to be pretty bad. And it's not really the over-the-top violence that's horrible, because sometimes you make it so over-the-top that, you know, it is unrealistic. And, you know, there's a debate versus, you know, of over-the-top gore and violence versus something that seems more realistic, being more appropriate maybe for a teenager or something to watch versus, you know, somebody that's 17 or 18, you know, which is, you know, basically an adult. And it's not really the violence and the stuff like that here, even though there's a lot of violence. Very well choreographed, very nice soundtrack. It's the words, and you know, I don't think there's any sex scenes or any nudity or anything like that, not that I can remember. But the things they say, it's not just throwing F-bombs and stuff like that. It's actually what they say, you know, that makes it not really appropriate for kids. So it's that bad. This film is a converted 3D film. You know, you can tell that it was made, or seemed to be made, with 3D in mind. There are things being thrown at the screen, at the audience and everything, you know, body parts, you know, all kinds of stuff. Probably helmets and weapons and everything. And, you know, even without that gimmicky pop-out stuff, it has really good depth, you know, and so it kind of looks like it's real 3D, like it could have been filmed on a 3D camera. And I guess conversions over time have gotten better and better. You know, sometimes you need a decent lighting, sometimes you need to, you know, stage your your cinematography or whatever, and stage your shoots in a certain way that lends itself better to a 3D conversion. And they seem to, as well as special effects, just made this a wonderful roller coaster ride. Hopefully one day there will be a TV edit of this, but I can't imagine it being a 2-hour long TV edit, maybe an hour. They might have to cut half of the actual content off of here and maybe overdub some of the language with something a little bit more PG-13-esque, I guess. Well, we finally got one little downpour. It was nice, probably about 10 minutes of good hard rain, and then maybe another little small shower, and then off and on a few little mists and sprinkles. And it's probably done for the day. We still got some wind, as you can see here, but hopefully that made all the plants that are going indoors happy, and hopefully, you know, it prevented us from having to spray down, you know, the stuff, the cold, things that don't like the cold, making them a little bit more happy. Now the ash and stuff we spread the other day is still on there because we hadn't got any hard rain, so hopefully that'll also help with keeping the ground thawed and maybe the roots a little bit, you know, less frozen. Looked at 2 forecasts, and one of them says it's going to be 30 tonight. The other one says it's like 34. Or I think our Alexa, wherever she gets the information from, our Echo, says 32. So, but she might have updated by now to whoever forecasts. You know, every few hours she can change it. And tomorrow we got 2 forecasts that say it's going to be 30. But, you know, for the next 7 or 10 days, there's going to be a chance that we could hit in that hard freeze zone, that 28 for a sustained period of time, you know, during the night and early mornings. It is January 7th, and I haven't done any filming on this garden vlog update today at all. We're just mainly waiting for this. This technically should be the coldest night of our winter so far, but it's hard to tell. I woke up this morning and there was no frost or anything, and you know, supposedly we got somewhere between 31 and 33 degrees, but maybe in my specific area we did not hit that low. But now they're saying possible 27, 28 degrees, and you know, we'll see. My plants that I'm protecting in pots or inside, you know, unless we get like that 26 or so degree prediction or lower, and then I may take our sacrificial plants, you know, inside. Now it is January 9th, and last night, I guess 4 or 5 a.m., Natalie asked the Echo Dot Alexa what the weather was, and she said 28 or 29 degrees, but by the daylight, I asked and it said it was like 36, so I'm not sure if it ever hit that temperature. And there was no frost, you know, outside when I came outside this morning about, you know, 8 o'clock, 7:30 a.m. So it's hard to tell if it actually hit that temperature where we're at. Sometimes these weather forecasters are 4 or 6 degrees difference between forecasts and what's actually, you know, the temperature is. But now we went from a cold watch or cold warning, cold weather advisory, I should say, to a freeze watch, and now freeze warning for tonight. It's supposed to hit like 28 degrees or 29 degrees, but it's also jumped back and forth between like 27 and 32 or 33, so we'll see what it actually is, I guess. I really need a weather station so I can get a pretty accurate measure, you know, of what we're getting. I would really love to have multiple like zones, you know, but it probably costs way too much money to measure all the little micro zones, microclimates, to help maybe plan in the future for, you know, more subtropical stuff, a little bit more cold tender and all that stuff. Well, I didn't really want to, but I brought those two loquats that seemed like they had a successful graft on them inside. You know, they're kind of drooping a lot from maybe the cold weather and stuff. There's some like burnt tips on that one there, and I don't want them to fail after it kind of succeeded. So let's hope we can keep them happy in here until these freezes are over. It's another day. It's January 10th, and last night, I don't know how cold it got. The report I listened to at like 2:30 or 3 a.m. said they changed from 28 to like a low of 33, although the previous night by like 9-10 o'clock it was like 30, then it went up to 31. You know, Natalie said she heard the weather report say that it hit 28 or 29 degrees, so I'm not sure what it actually hit here. Today was such a nice little day. It's like warmer, like a high of 67. Look at that, we got a nice breeze before it gets totally dark. Low of 52 tonight. I mean, I'm still in my t-shirt here. It'd be nice to have a little tiny campfire maybe out here and enjoy the birds and the weather before it gets cold again tomorrow, like 34 or so Fahrenheit tomorrow night. We got some robins flying right there. We got a bunch of plated woodpeckers and hawks earlier. Look at there. I'm sure you guys can see those guys. Had some little house wrens the other day, just getting little pieces of material to make their nests and all with, which is kind of cool to see. It's like we got some leaf tip burn on this Suriname cherry here, this black one. So it got cold enough to do that.